What's up, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you review number 29 in my 12th annual 31 Days of Horror. The film that I'm going to be reviewing today is one that I haven't seen since the theater, I think, and that is Dr. Sleep, Stephen King's Dr. Sleep, directed by Mike Flanagan. This is a sequel to The Shining, but also a sequel adaptation. So you have Shining the book, and then there's a sequel book called Dr. Sleep. You have Shining the movie, which is very different from Shining the book, and then you have Dr. Sleep, which is sort of a hybrid between an adaptation of Stephen King's book Dr. Sleep and a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, Dr. Sleep, which is kind of an interesting scenario that we find ourselves in with this film. But I think, having not read Dr. Sleep or The Shining, but just based on what I've heard other people say, I think it's a nice hybrid. I feel like it is a true sequel to the movie The Shining, which is probably the most important thing for me as like a film fan. But from what I hear, it doesn't like betray the stuff that Stephen King did so much. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Obviously, we know Stephen King has like a lot of beefs with The Shining and Stanley Kubrick's version, but I believe he even loves this movie. So Dr. Sleep takes place years and years and years after the events of The Shining at the Overlook Hotel. We now have a grown-up Danny who is still sort of struggling with the trauma of his childhood, and he still has the ability to shine, as we know and learned about in The Shining. It's basically like psychic phenomena, telepathy, stuff like that. But there's also this little girl named Abra, who he meets through The Shining, who is in danger because there is also a group of like shining vampires that are basically killing people that have the shine and feeding on the shine. And they have a whole system around it, and apparently over the years the shine has decreased, so they're getting more hungry and more desperate for shine, and they sense Abby's shine and notice that it is massive, and that if they captured her and drained her shine, it would hold them over for quite a while. I forget the name of the lead vampire, but there she is on the cover. She's really good, and it might be, I don't know, I can't remember who it is, but anyway, Danny teams up with Abra to stop these vampires and sort of go through his traumas, deal with his traumas. Dr. Sleep is an awesome movie. It's so different from The Shining, but I think that it's really good. So first of all, the vampires that feed on the shine, they're really cool, and I could totally see it coming. It could have easily came off bad, but I think there is one scene that really makes them seem like a major threat, and I think that the entire movie like sort of relied on the violence and the aggression in the scene, and it is a scene in which they capture a kid baseball player and take him out into the middle of nowhere and basically murder him, and it's very disturbing. And for a mainstream Hollywood movie, sort of nailing that really makes you keep your guard up, because you know that anything can sort of happen in the movie, and I think that's a very important part. There's a lot of great visuals in this film. The stuff they do with their eyes is very scary. I actually like all the actors. Danny is great. Abby's great. The villains are great. And then you get this fantastic like final in what was the Overlook Hotel, and like a lot of like those core memories being unlocked, and it's a really cool moment in the film that is definitely appealing to like people that are fans of The Shining. That's why it says it like blends the two worlds of the book and the original film so well. There's of course callbacks to The Shining, which are awesome. Actually, the funniest thing is like I think the scene that like I am most like not into is the scene with like flashback ghost type thing, Jack Nicholson in like the bar. Not Jack Nicholson, but Jack Torrance in the bar. And although like I think the guy did fine and it felt fine and good enough, like it was believable as Jack Torrance, I just feel like that scene didn't have the weight that it needed for what we were for what it meant. You know what I mean? Like to have that scene with those two characters, I feel like we didn't really get anything out of it compared to like what we should have in that moment. But that's really one of the only complaints I have about Dr. Sleep. I think it's a fantastic movie outside of that. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give Dr. Sleep a solid 9 out of 10. I really do love it. It did hold up great from the first time I seen it. I still have not watched the director's cut though, so maybe next time I will watch the director's cut. So with that said, peace.